can hear my neighbour doing what sounds like karaoke very loudly. So if you can hear that, that's what that is. Right then, you lovely people. Welcome back for another video. This one I've been teasing for a little while. This is a new build that we're going to start doing today. It is for this frame here that I'm going to put on the screen. This is my Scott Sawtooth. I did some hunting rounds on eBay looking for essentially the cheapest frame that I could find that wasn't crap. And this is what I landed on. This is actually one of my followers on Instagram. This was his bike. I didn't know that until he messaged me saying, glad the bike went to a good home, so that was cool. I've had a few frames in my basket, and this is the one that I kept looking at. And in the end, I got it for £10. Pretty sick deal. The reason I bought it was because I thought it'd be a great example of a budget frame that was cheap, and then how good you can make that frame look. And that's kind of what this first episode is all about. I'm going to spend a bit more time digging into the depths of what I do when it comes to restoring paint on a frame. A little background, many years ago when I first left school, I went to college and studied paint and body and paint. What was this course called? Body and paint. So I'm technically a qualified car painter and panel beater. Did I do it when I left college? For a minute. That was it. So that's how I know what I know about restoring paint. So before we go into the details of that, let's go take a look at the bike. So here it is, this is my Scott Sawtooth. It also came with a very fresh looking green fork. The fork had some battering, but we'll get to that in a minute. The frame itself, I think, would have been quite bright, the green especially, so it's definitely going to need some restoring, and it should look a lot better after that. The crust that was on this bike wasn't completely clear from the listing. You couldn't see all of it, but my god, did it have the right amount of crust when I looked at it. It's a 20.5 size frame, so it is a large, which is kind of one of my favourite kind of bikes to ride. Like I said, the fork has took most of the damage. It's always down the non-drive side that kind of gets the real beating on bikes when they're stored and things like that. This one's pretty bad. But it's fine, because we're going to fix that. But before we go any further, it's learning time. Oh yeah, we're going there. So you can probably tell from the title of this video, we're going to be talking about restoring paint. And one of the biggest things to restore paint is some sort of paint restorer. Today, we're going to be focused on this bad boy, T-Cut, or this bad boy, T-Cut. What exactly is T-Cut? Good question, but in one way, it's not as easy one to answer. Oh, this is going to be a bloody long video, isn't it? The precisely balanced formula gently removes a super fine, indeed microscopic, layer of paint from the top surface. As it does so, scratches, swirl marks and other blemishes are eradicated from the surface, and the lustre of the original colour is allowed to shine through once again. Oh, I literally bought that book to read that one sentence. So now we all know what T-Cut is, we're going to move on to the rest of the steps on how I restore paint on frames. Follow me. Step 1 is to remove any parts that you don't need or don't want. I tend to try and remove everything, including the headset. These two bolts were like ridiculously crusty. They were Phillips as well, so that as soon as you start putting a screwdriver in, it just crumbled away. So I ended up using these kind of grips and twisting them off with that, which works really well. As soon as you've got the frame all stripped down, you can then move on to the cleaning. I use a mixture of muck-off, WD-40, any kind of solvent removers. I also use Muck-Off's drivetrain cleaner, just because it's super tough on kind of like real built up grease and things like that. People get really upset about me using wire brushes when I'm cleaning bikes. When I'm going to restore the paint, it doesn't really matter because the next step involves sanding, so this is going to be fine. Oh, and then pro tip when it comes to forks, make sure you get inside the steerer itself. This one was quite full of gunk, and that's going to cause all sorts of corrosion over time. So I kind of ram in some like rags, or like I had some rubber gloves around as well, kind of to help kind of push some of the gunk out. And then your biggest Allen key you've got, and just ram that through. Lots of solvent as well, just to make sure. So next is rust converter. You won't need this on all restorations, but in this one I definitely needed it. Rust converter is a chemical you paint onto the rusty exposed parts of the frame, and it turns that rust black. It stops it in its tracks, and then essentially stops it from getting worse. In my personal opinion, it also looks pretty cool. When using this, the very small little chips and dents aren't going to do loads, it's not going to change much, but these big exposed areas, they're the ones you need to really focus on, and you may need to kind of wire it, brush it back off again and add it another coat. You can't really layer it on top as far as I can tell. I've tried layering it in the past, it doesn't really make a difference. But make sure you do this stage before you start doing the wet, flat and the sanding, because any residue that you leave on there you can sand off. Now this really is the fun stuff. First I spray on the water, as you've just seen, and then in this case I used 800 grit sandpaper. The reason I used 800 is because all the stickers on the actual frame itself were a little bit ratty, so I wanted to kind of almost take the edge off those as well. If you are going to use something like 800 on paint, I'd always say be very careful about it, and always kind of use the most of your palm. Like if you're just using your fingers, you're going to just take off more than you want to. If you're using kind of flat hands as much as you can, it helps with the surface. Once you kind of hit it with that, if you choose to, I then go as high as possible. So in this case, I think I only actually went up to about 2000, and you essentially want to just take off just the shine. You're not putting lots and lots of effort into this, you're not trying to get the paint off, you're just trying to, like, almost the same way as you're cleaning dirt off. That's the way to think about it. But as soon as it's dull, or starting to get dull, stop. Take some time, clean it, make sure it's as dull as you want it to be, but as soon as you start burning through that lacquer, you f***ed it. And that's that. That takes us right back to the beginning of the video when we started talking about T-cut. When you apply the T-cut to a rag, in this case I use quite a lot. The more you put on there though, the more you have to take off. So I start rubbing it down as hard as I can, just kind of moving the stuff around. Essentially you need to do it until the paint starts looking kind of waxy, is the best way to look at it. The actual T-cut itself will kind of leave quite a big thick coating on it, and you want to just kind of get that everywhere on the frame, and then just kind of go to town. Just get those elbows going and spread it around. As soon as you've finished and you've got a good coating on there, it's still going to look dull and you're going to be like, what the hell's going on here? So at this stage you need to get a clean cloth. In this case, both times I've been using microfiber cloths, I think they work the best. But get a clean one, and then you need to remove that residue. We've all seen the movie, we all know the quote, wax on, wax off. That's what we're doing here. But as soon as you've removed the T-cut from the frame itself, you've got a polished, shiny, beautiful, retro frame. And you did a good job. And there you have it, from old and battered to shiny and new. And that's that. That's the end of another video, and hopefully a much more informative and well thought out video with a lot more detail. That's what you guys have asked for, and that's what you've got. Hopefully from this video you'll be able to now go away and buy yourself some T-Cut that aren't sponsoring me, by the way. I just really love T-Cut. And take one of those retro frames you've got and make it new again. I definitely think the biggest or best or most impressive things about my builds, God, can you say this about yourself? But anyway, carry on, is the paintwork. I think that's what makes these bikes stand out. It's why we buy retro bikes. They don't paint them like they used to. So bring it back to life, make it fresh again. Next week's video is going to be continuing this bike. I have pretty much finished the build now. So by the time the next video comes out, it'll be completely built, and hopefully I'll have taken it for a few rides. So next week we'll build the bike and show you where I've got to so far with it, and hopefully we'll be able to get it riding and go take it for a bit of a spin. The new saveoldbikes.com website is up and running as well, so if you are interested in any stickers or some merch, the link is, well, the website's here, the link's down below. It really helped me out, but there's a lot of cool new stickers, so you should go and check them out. But for now, that's that. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. This is what we do every week. There's lots and lots of new videos coming out, and if you want to watch another video whilst you're waiting for next week's, check out that one. It's a stalker. Stonker.